The Atlanta Hawks Trae Young and Dejounte Murray experiment looks like it's coming to an end. We're going to talk about the past, the present, and the future surrounding everything around this Trae Young, Dejounte Murray experiment, or whatever you want to call it, and what made the Atlanta Hawks go ahead and trade for another point guard while they already have Trae Young. So if we look, you guys can see the 2019-2020 Atlanta Hawks. They didn't do good. They finished with a record of 20-47, missed the playoffs, were one of the worst teams in the NBA. Next season, they go all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. This is the Eastern Conference Finals down here. This was the series where Trae Young was like the villain in Madison Square Garden, eliminated the Knicks in the first round. Then they beat the 76ers in a 7-game series and then lost to the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. But nobody really expected the Hawks to go all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals with essentially just Trae Young. So if we go to the next season, then they lose in the first round to the Miami Heat. Now, this is the last season without Dejounte Murray. So I guess the Hawks are thinking, what can we do? How can we get better? Can we bring in an all-star caliber player and maybe make a run, back to the Eastern Conference Finals or potentially the NBA Finals? So what should we do? San Antonio Spurs are one of the teams with a crazy NBA history, especially after those Tim Duncan years. And then they also had Kawhi Leonard. But after that, they were kind of in a weird spot where they didn't really want to lose everything. They had Dejounte Murray, who was probably their most promising piece. And then come 2022, they finally accepted it. They accepted they weren't good anymore and they tanked. And now we know they got Wemby. So it was worth it. But so they traded the Hawks, Dejounte Murray. But what did the Hawks give up? 3 first-round picks and a pick swap. The Spurs, as you guys can read, of course, look at the purple text, embraced their rebuild around Wemby with all of these picks. Was this trade worth it for the Atlanta Hawks? Well, let's see what they did in their next season, the first season with Dejounte Murray. They ended up losing to the Boston Celtics in the first round 2-4, and that's pretty much the only full season we've seen. Right now they are 15-23, 11th in the Eastern Conference with this Trae Young, Dejounte Murray duo. And the Hawks game last night is kind of what sparked me to do this video. Obviously, there's a ton of news surrounding Dejounte Murray. Is he going to be traded? We're about to get into all of that. We got some trade packages that, we found that maybe some other teams will accept. We're going to see what teams are really looking to get Dejounte Murray. But look at this game. You got 30-pieced by the Washington Wizards. We know the Wizards are one of the worst teams in the NBA. If it wasn't for the Pistons, and I guess the Spurs, the Wizards would be one of the worst teams like in NBA history. I mean, it's crazy. Like you really you really take a double take when the Wizards win. Like when you look at your phone and you look at the scores and everything, you see the Wizards are winning. Like you're like actually kind of stunned. You're like, how are they doing it? Did Jordan Poole finally go for 30 like people expected? Well, nah. Jordan Poole had 20 points, Kuzma with 29. This is a game where the Hawks had pretty much all of their players. Dejounte played 31 minutes. Trae Young played 36. Trae gave him 21. Dejounte gave him 13. Saddiq Bey gave him 16. And then there was really nothing else. Bogdan gave you 14 off the bench. But bad L. Hawks lose by 30 to the Wizards. And you have to wonder, where are they in the NBA standings? And the Eastern Conference is very interesting to me because I feel like it's very top heavy. Like you got the real contenders at the top. And when you compare that to the West, I don't feel that same way. Obviously, you got the contenders at the top. That just makes sense. But you also got these guys at the bottom. Like if the Lakers sneak in or the Warriors and they make some trades, or, the Suns, the Mavs, maybe. I don't know. You got some people that could win at the bottom. In the East, it kind of feels like everyone's just at the top that really has a chance. I mean, I guess you can't count out the Heat. Maybe when the Cavs get healthy, but even them, they're the 5 seed. I'm talking about these bottom teams. Like the Magic, realistically, aren't really a contender. The Bulls aren't. The Nets aren't. And then the Hawks are all the way below all of these teams with Trae Young, one of the best point guards in the NBA this year. He's probably going to be an all-star starter if I had to guess. It's very close. Halliburton probably gets one spot. Who gets the other? Is it going to be Young? Is it going to be, Brunson, Maxey, Lillard, Donovan Mitchell? I could go on. There's a ton of point guards in the East that could probably take that last spot. But Trae Young is averaging 28 and 11. He's having a great year. You also got Dejounte Murray. This is a very solid team. Matter of fact, let's look at it. I've talked to some people and it's how is this team as bad as they are? It doesn't really make sense because you got Trae Young, you got Dejounte Murray, right? You got your 2 all-star caliber players. Trae Young is definitely an all-star, but Dejounte Murray is borderline. He's not one, but he's an all-star caliber player. Bogdanovich has been playing great this year, giving you 17 points per game on good efficiencies. Jalen Johnson is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. If you actually watch hoops, if you actually watch the Hawks play, he has such an impact on their offense. He's given them 15 points per game with 8.3 rebounds per game. I feel like a lot of people didn't expect that. Then you got DeAndre Hunter, you got Saddiq Bey to give a little bit more scoring, Clint Capella, Okongwu, who has a lot of potential, and even right now he's playing okay. And then the rest is just kind of, you know, you don't really have much after that. So I was thinking, what is it? Like, is it this team's offense? Because it seems like they got the offensive guys. You know, you got Trae Young, you got Dejounte, you got Bogdan, Jalen's been solid, you got Saddiq Bey, Clint, you know what I'm saying? You got some guys. And then defensively too, you got some guys that are good at defense. Dejounte's pretty solid at defense for, you know, essentially a point guard. Jalen Johnson solid, DeAndre Hunter solid, Clint Capella is not the worst. You know what I'm saying? It's not a terrible team. So then you got to look at the numbers. You got to look at the numbers because obviously something's not going right. And I saw the Hawks are 8th when we talk about offensive rating, which is one of the best and just most simple metrics when you talk about a team's offense. The number 1 team in the league, the Pacers. The Hawks are 8th. If we sort it by defensive rating, this is where it gets interesting because you guys can look. Where are they? Where are the Atlanta Hawks? They are nowhere to be found because they are all the way at pretty much the bottom, 27th in defensive rating. The only teams worse on defense this year are the Pistons, the Wizards, and the Hornets. 3 teams that don't have over 8 wins. The Pistons are 3-36, by the way. We might have to make another video on them soon because this is really a historically bad season. I know everyone talks about it. The Pistons are 3-36. The Wizards are 7-31. They just lost to them, by the way, the Hawks. And the Hornets are 8-28. So these are 3 very bad teams. And they're the only teams worse than the Hawks on defense. Now, this NBA trade deadline might get crazy because, I mean, we're not trading superstar talents. At least I don't expect any. But there's a lot of star talents that are being rumored to get traded. We got Siakam, Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine. You know, even Alex Caruso might get traded. I'm probably missing some, but we're not going to, you know, cover all of them. But those are just the ones that come to mind. Dejounte Murray is now being heavily rumored to be traded, if you guys haven't heard. And Woj reported this, and it just makes sense. I mean, after looking at everything we just looked at, it doesn't really make sense in the first place for the Hawks to pair Trae with Dejounte Murray. Like, if you were going to get somebody like an all-star caliber player, probably should have went for, you know, a small forward, maybe a big. Going and getting a second point guard and then kind of forcing him to play shooting guard just doesn't really make sense. And as we can see, it just doesn't work out. So what teams are looking to get Dejounte Murray? The Hawks have spoken to the Lakers about a potential Dejounte Murray trade. And this is one of the teams that I'm seeing a lot of news about, you know, on Twitter or just NBA articles. The Lakers, I think, are making their primary trade target Dejounte Murray, which I don't even know what to think when it comes to the Lakers because you've heard a lot of stuff about Zach LaVine potentially going there. I've also seen some stuff with Alex Caruso. Like, I don't know what to think. The Lakers seem like one of those teams where their fans, and I know there's a lot of Lakers fans watching this, so I don't know if this is an insult, but it just kind of seems like the Lakers are one of those teams that just think they're going to get everybody, and you're not. But Dejounte Murray to the Lakers, I could see happening. We go to the next team. The Warriors are also interested in Dejounte Murray. Are they going to get him? I don't know. I kind of heard that they would be giving up Clay to trade for Dejounte Murray. Now, that is interesting to me because I don't know how true that is. I'd probably think you'd give up someone more like Wiggins or Chris Paul to fill the contracts and then throw him like a rookie, or not a rookie, but like a young player, like maybe a Moses Moody and like a first or a second, something like that. But moving on from Clay is not terrible. I know a lot of Warriors fans would be shook at the idea of that, but you're gonna have to pay him a lot in the offseason. This is the last year of his deal. He's gonna be asking for a lot of money. I don't think he comes back to the Warriors unless he's willing to take a pay cut, which I don't know if he's gonna do that. So I think we're probably losing Clay anyways, and I'm gonna say we are because I'm a Warriors fan, if you guys didn't know. So moving on from Clay now may not be the worst thing if you can get something. I made a full Warriors video recently if you guys care about the Warriors more, but I think someone like Zach LaVine would be a better guy to bring in for, you know, Klay Thompson. Zach LaVine's got some more years in his deal, and he can kind of play a little bit like Klay. Like Dejounte Murray is really not going to do that. The next team is the Miami Heat, and the Heat are a team that have been really trying to get somebody for a while. I think they were trying to get Donovan Mitchell for some time. They were trying to get Damian Lillard. They were like the front runners to get Damian Lillard all off season, and then he went to the Bucks. I remember Jimmy Butler came out with a little video, I think on Instagram, or maybe he was live, and he said you got to look into them for tampering. Like pretty much everyone around the NBA thought they were going to get Damian Lillard. The Heat, a team that has been to 2 NBA finals now in the past 3 or 4 years, like if they land some sort of all-star caliber player, which it looks like they're going to try to do, they could really be a finals contender. Because I mean, right now, obviously you gotta say, I guess they are, just because they were there last year and just they got Jimmy and Bam and Tyler Hero. But I don't know, I think it's probably going to be one of the 3 at the top, the Celtics, Sixers, or Bucks that go to the finals out of the East. But if the Heat make a move, that would probably put them in that tier. I mean, we'd have to see who they get, but it could be interesting if they were to trade for Dejounte Murray. Obviously, the Knicks traded Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett to the Toronto Raptors, but this trade came out, or I don't know, this former trade package, I guess you could say, news broke a few days ago. I think that the Hawks wanted Emmanuel Quickley and a first-round pick from the Knicks for Dejounte Murray. So they've been trying to shop, if you want to say, they've been trying to trade Dejounte Murray now for a week or 2 or longer. You know what I'm saying? Because they obviously are revealing this trade package. And this is interesting because I feel like it's got to be kind of close to being accepted. I guess you want to go the OG route, get more of a forward. Again, we're already talking about Trae Young and Dejounte 2 point guards. So I kind of see why that could be bad for the Knicks. You bring him in with Brunson. I still see Dejounte as a point guard. I know some of you might say he's a 2 or a shooting guard. I feel like the Hawks just kind of turned him into that. But they also wanted a first with Quickley. No RJ Barrett, but they wanted a first. So I guess the Knicks thought that giving RJ in a second is better than losing out on that first. And also they probably liked OG as a better fit than Dejounte, but this package is pretty close. It's not a terrible package, and the Knicks definitely were thinking about this. Now, I don't know if I was a Knicks fan or in Knicks management if I would have accepted it, because I think pretty highly of Emmanuel Quickley. He's a player that, and this is kind of off topic, but I feel like there's a lot of players that kind of reach their ceiling with teams. I feel like we kind of saw that with RJ Barrett, and with the Knicks, he would just score 18 points per game every season. We wouldn't see him really improve, but I think Quickley changing teams, and now in Toronto, I think he really is probably going to break out here soon, like next season. I mean, we're already seeing him play solid, but next season, I think he's going to go off. Okay, so now we have some potential Dejounte Murray trade packages. So the first one, Dejounte Murray takes his talents to South Beach. So it would be Dejounte Murray and AJ Griffin and Wesley Matthews to the Miami Heat for Kyle Lowry, Nikola Jovic, a 2024 first, and a 2026 second round pick from the Lakers. By the way, this article said these are trades that the Atlanta Hawks would have to take. Like, these are like undeniable trades. So this first one, I don't know. Now, the one thing that I do like that the Hawks are getting is Nikola Jovic. I'm pretty high on him. I think, like, whenever you see him play, I think in the summer league, he was hooping, or the preseason, whatever, he goes crazy when he's kind of the guy, or just, you know, they actually run the offense through him. When he gets his few minutes throughout this season, I mean, you see flashes, but he doesn't really get the ball much. He's kind of comparable to a guy like Keegan Murray for me with the Kings. Like, he doesn't really get as many reps. He's kind of just in the corner a lot, or just chucking threes. But if he were to get more opportunity, I think Nikola Jovic could be good. Obviously, he's really young, so I mean, I'm not knocking the Heat for not running the offense through him. You can't expect that. But I think Jovic is gonna be pretty good. Kyle Lowry on the last year of his deal, I think he's making like 30 mil. So I guess that would be just to get money gone. But Dejounte Murray's also in the last year of his deal. I don't know. This deal is kind of weird. They are bringing in a first round pick from the Heat, which, how good is that really gonna be? It's probably gonna be in the middle of the first round, and you get a Lakers first round pick, or second round pick actually. So that's pretty much not a good pick. I don't know. This trade to me doesn't seem great. It's not terrible. Like, if they really wanted to get rid of Dejounte, I guess you take it, but it doesn't seem undeniable like this article said it would be. Now, this next trade sends Dejounte Murray to the 76ers, and I don't know if it's just me, but I don't really like this trade. I know they're bringing in 2 first round picks, so it's Dejounte and AJ Griffin, who, I don't know what we really think of AJ Griffin. He's had some potential, but he's had some years in the league now and just hasn't really shown too much. So it is Dejounte and AJ Griffin for Marcus Morris Sr., who I don't think anyone's really high on, and Furkan Korkmaz. So then you also bring in 2 first-round picks, top 3 protected. It is the 76ers pick, so probably going to be a late first, and then a 2026 first-round pick from 3 teams that are probably going to be good in 2026. So 2 late-round firsts for Dejounte and AJ Griffin. It's not as bad now that I think about it more, because you could turn that into something, and at least you're getting something for Dejounte Murray. Like if it came down to it, if I'm the Hawks, I probably take this just because you're getting 2 first-round picks for him, and we know the Hawks are probably not going to do anything this season come postseason time. Maybe they'll probably be in the play-in. They probably will, but are they going to do anything? Maybe they snag a playoff spot and just get first rounded. Like, we don't really expect much from them. So at least this way, you're getting rid of Dejounte, who's on the last year of his deal, and you're bringing in 2 firsts. This one's also interesting. The tanking Pistons enter the Dejounte Murray sweepstakes, and I don't really know why. The Pistons are trying to like win now. Like, obviously we know they're 3-36. They're one of the worst teams ever. I guess they're trying to salvage this season or whatever and not have it be the worst season of all time. Obviously they're not going to make the playoffs, but I've seen a lot of like talks about the Pistons trying to trade for like all-star caliber players like now. Like, they're not trying to wait for the offseason. They're not trying to do stuff for next season. Well, maybe they are, but they're trying to bring people in now. Like, I think they even were trying to get like Siakam, who's like on the last year of his deal. Like, I don't know what's going on in Detroit, but right here they bring in Dejounte Murray and Patty Mills while giving up Joe Harris and Jaden Ivey, who we've been seeing get some more minutes recently with Detroit. Ivey does have some potential. I feel like that's another player, like I talked about earlier, like RJ Barrett in New York, who I feel like kind of reached his ceiling. Jaden Ivey, I feel like with a change of scenery, could reach his full potential. Maybe not his full potential, but he could do better with another team. Then you're also getting a 2nd-round pick from Memphis or Washington, which is fine because they're both pretty bad, and a 2026 first-round pick from Pistons, which could be a pretty good pick. Are they going to be good 2 years from now, 3 years from now? Probably not. You never know with some of these teams, but probably not. So that could be a really good pick, and you get Jaden Ivey. I mean, this trade isn't terrible, I don't think, for the Hawks. If I'm the Hawks, this is what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to get a first, especially from a bad team if you can, like the Pistons. Like, that first is pretty valuable. But there was another trade, what was it, where there was 2 firsts with the Sixers. Even 2 mid to late first is pretty good. But something else that I would want to do is, if I'm the Hawks, is bring in a young player with potential, and you were kind of getting that with this Jaden Ivey piece in the Pistons trade. And then we have this, which I don't think it's true. I don't know. I didn't see a lot about it, but I saw this article. Trae Young reportedly opened to pair up with Wemby in San Antonio. This is per Matt Moore. So again, I don't even know if this is a real article or if they just smacked his name on this and just tried to get clicks or whatever. But obviously Dejounte is going to get traded. I think he's probably the most likely all-star caliber player to be traded at this point in time. It kind of seems like that. You also have Siakam, who's probably going to get traded. And then I guess you'd have Levine and then Laurie in last place, because I don't know if the Jazz are actually going to trade Laurie, but obviously he's in a lot of trade rumors. But this is something that I could see, well, maybe not Trae Young, but I could see a star, all-star type player team up with Wemby. I remember Jaylen Brown was in contract discussions this offseason, and I was thinking like maybe he goes to the Spurs and just tries to build like some sort of dynasty with Wemby. I don't know why a star wouldn't try that if they were on kind of a failing team. Like, Wemby's gonna be great, and I think the Spurs are just kind of waiting to get that second all-star type player, and it's just a matter of who's it gonna be, because I think the Spurs will be good. Wemby will probably win a finals or 2 in his career, but obviously not with the team that they have right now. So who is it that they're gonna bring in? Is it gonna be Trae Young? Probably not. Let me know in the comments. I feel like we're kind of in like the literal slowest days of the NBA season. After Christmas to like, I don't know, the All-Star break, trade deadline type timing, like it's kind of slow. Obviously the beginning of the year is hype. You get to see all these new players on new teams, all that type of stuff. Then right around the playoff time, I don't know if right before playoffs is hyped at all really, but playoffs are obviously hypes. But in January, it's kind of slow. I feel like the NBA's been pretty good. The NFL playoffs are obviously going on. So at least me, I'm not gonna speak for everybody, but I've been watching the playoffs kind of more. My attention's gone there. There might be some other teams we got to talk about. Obviously, we'll be talking about the Clippers a lot on this channel. They're on an absolute tear. The Lakers, I mean, what's going on, right? I don't think they're in the play-in picture. They just lost to the Jazz. Like, this is bad. They got to make a move fast, or else their season and potentially the end of LeBron James could be near in the playoffs. It probably isn't. You know what I'm saying? He's 39 at this point in time. He's probably going to win another finals when he's 41. But I'm saying you don't want to waste LeBron's potential last good year or two. You know what I'm saying? You got to make a move fast. You got to do something, because right now the Lakers aren't in the play-in and they're losing to bad teams. So maybe I got to drop a full video on that. Let me know in the comments if you guys want to see that. Sub up if you guys haven't. We're on the road to 2K subs. Drop a like in the video, turn on notifications, and click the video pop up on your screen right here if you haven't seen it yet.